Hello, everybody, and welcome into another Jew and Gentile podcast. I am your host, Chris Katulka, and with me is none other than the Jewish sage himself, the Mr. Steve Herzig. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Chris. It's a special day.
It is a very special day. We have, number one, a special guest that we're excited to talk about. But number two, it's our year anniversary. We've made it. Happy birthday.
What have we done for a year?
Talk?
Nothing.
Bupkis?
Bupkis.
We've talked.
We have talked.
We've talked a lot.
But for more than a year.
Well, if you think about it, we've talked for 52 hours after this episode.
We talked so people could hear us, but usually we're in the office. Nobody hears us.
That's right. Well, actually, people have complained that they hear us through the walls.
They hear us too much.
That's right. Exactly. We like to talk. That's why we started this podcast. In fact, if you go back to the very first episode of this podcast, which you can do, if you listen, one of the reasons we started it.
Yeah, and that's not a tape. If they go back to that first one, Chris, I'd be afraid to listen to that.
Oh, it's hilarious because when you listen to it, you find out the reason why we started it, and it's because this is what we do on a daily basis.
All the time.
We just talk.
That's what we do.
So we thought, why don't we invite friends into our conversations? Which I don't know if that's safe or not, but
it's fun.
It's fun.
It's definitely fun.
Well, Steve, because it's our year anniversary, I thought that we would sing happy birthday to us.
Let's sing happy birthday to us.
Let's sing happy birthday to us.
But do it in a fun way.
But we're going to do it in Hebrew. We're going to do it the way they do it in Hebrew. So here we go, everybody. This is the Hebrew way of singing happy birthday.
This next song is how you sing happy birthday in Israel. Hayom yom huledet, hayom yom huledet, hayom.
Steve, you have to sing it after this.
I'm not singing.
Huledet, hayom yom huledet.
Yom yom huledet leMishel. Chag lasameach v'zeh lapoleh.
Sounds like happy trails to you.
It's funny because it's just saying there, the La Michelle is saying your name. It's not even putting a name. It's just saying happy birthday,
whatever
insert your name.
Insert your
All right, well, happy birthday to the Jew and Gentile podcast. This is a one-year anniversary. We're going to postpone the conversation that we're having about what people think and say before they die.
Yep. We're on the third part, but it's been postponed twice, so I hope no one dies until we finish our third part.
That's exactly. There's a lot to dive into there with that. So, yes, please stay alive and join us again next week. But we thought we would take a break and celebrate a one-year anniversary.
And what a guest we have.
You
have no
guest.
idea how happy I am.
I know.
About this.
Let me cue up our video here, our video feed, to make sure she gets up. There she is. She's in it now. That's fantastic. Hello, Lorna Simcox.
Hello.
Lorna, get
Happy
that.
birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Get that microphone close to you, Lorna. Don't be scared of it.
All right.
Lorna always. I've had Lorna in the radio room before. And Lorna always comes into the radio going, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to do? I don't have enough to say. And Steve, it's all a lie because she's adequate in every way for these moments. And I guarantee you this whole time is going to be filled with laughter and good times with Lorna. So,
in fact, she has a lot to say. She just doesn't like to say it so anybody else can hear. But I have heard her, and she has opinions on everything. She knows a lot, but if she's in public, I don't know anything.
yeah.
Don't ask me. You should only know, right, Lorna?
Right. My husband gets it all. He hears all of it.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. Yeah, behind closed doors, right?
Right.
Lorna is the editor-in-chief of a magazine that you're probably familiar with, and if you're not, then we have to get them plugged into it. But
she definitely should plug the magazine.
Yeah, Israel My Glory magazine. Lorna, how long have you been editor-in-chief of Israel My Glory?
I can't remember, to be honest, but I've been with the magazine 23 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody trained you. You worked under somebody
Elwood
who's.
McQuaid.
Oh boy,
He was
Elwood McQuaid.
executive director.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about Elwood.
Oh, Elwood is a genius, in my opinion. But Elwood actually taught me a lot about putting a magazine together. My background is newspapers. And, the big difference with newspapers is you do everything the same that day, you publish it at night, and then you're on to the next thing. But with a magazine, we come out every other month. So it's a much longer
You live
process.
with it a lot longer.
Oh, yeah. And it takes a long time to get all the articles together. And
That's
to
because they're
figure out-
FOI people who don't get it in on time.
That's right. Nobody here, right, Lorna? Nobody in this room.
Nobody
Yeah,
here.
nobody here. Wink,
Liar,
wink.
liar,
I know.
pants on fire.
Lorna is always so nice to me because I'm usually late and with my articles. Steve, you write a piece for the magazine every single issue. Is it? It's not on the middle. What is your part? What's your section?
I don't know what it's called, but it's page 10.
It's page-
usually get page 10.
Okay, page 10.
Yeah, but I just was late this past weekend. I got a phone call from Jesse, who is assisting Lorna, and he said, if you need an extension for your article, I said, what article?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I just turned in an article to Lorna. And he said, the one on Purim. I said, oh, when was it assigned? Oh, it's on your sheet. I didn't look at it. When was it due? Yesterday?
Yeah.
I tell everyone, print it out, mark it with a highlighter, put it on your bulletin board.
And did I listen?
Nobody
No.
ever does.
No.
Bulletin board. I don't even know what a bulletin board is. No, I'm joking. But I have 2 articles that are due for every single issue, the editorial piece, but then also FOI in Action, where we talk about all the amazing work that our workers all around the United States are doing to share the love of Christ in the communities all around the country and in Canada. And this past one, I was pretty late, Lorna. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
It's a public
You
apology.
have a different situation than everybody else because you have 2 totally different deadlines. Most people have one deadline and it stays the same for every issue, but you have 2 completely different deadlines. So I give you a pass.
Well,
for that.
thank
get
you
a
very
mulligan.
much. That's
You get
right.
a
This is
mulligan from Lorna.
This is recorded, by the way, so everybody
We
can
approve.
take note. Yeah, that's right. Everyone can take note of that. Well, Lorna, we're glad to have you on our 1-year anniversary of the Jew and Gentile podcast. We could think of nobody better to have on.
Oh, that's sweet.
You know, you came into our Yiddishkeit studio or our podcast room here.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, what do you think of
I
it?
love it.
Tell us what caught your eye when
The
you
first
walked in.
thing that caught my eye was David Ben-Gurion standing on his head.
Oh, I
on
love
the
that
beach
picture.
in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
I love that picture.
That's a great pic. It's a picture of David Ben-Gurion, Israel's first prime minister, and that's how he would do his exercises.
He loved yoga.
Yep, and there's actually today when you go to Israel and you go to Tel Aviv, there's this cartoonish, very large statue,
Plastic.
plastic of David Ben-Gurion.
I've taken Alice and I take our picture there whenever we go. Whenever we go to Israel, that's the first place we stop. Hey,
he's
we want to see Ben.
He's standing on his head. I love it.
David, how you doing?
That's right.
People think we were just there in March, and we looked for him, and people are looking all around. Kids go there. Nope, Alice and I go there.
That's right. It is a cute little thing too. But yeah, this is our Yiddishkeit podcast room. So you feel a little Yiddish when you come in. You feel Jewish culture
It's
and
great.
customs when you
I
walk
love
in.
it. I'm surrounded by everything here that I grew up with, Hebrew school, all those years of Hebrew school. I remembered, David Ben-Gurion was like a big hero of mine.
Tell us a little bit about where were you raised? You weren't raised in the hot spot of Judaism.
No, Burlington, Vermont is not exactly.
Is anything living in Burlington?
Well, yeah, actually, it was the largest Jewish community in the state. And that was about 300 families.
And you were absorbed in it. I mean,
yeah, very much so.
Tell us a little bit.
I loved it.
I think you could help our listeners because in your case, your father was not really interested in spiritual things and
Not
didn't
at
even
all.
believe in God. And yet
No.
you went to shul, you went to Hebrew school, and
Yes.
it was a major part of your life. Tell us that dichotomy, how that worked.
I actually didn't find out that my dad was an atheist until I was in college. And it was because of the Holocaust, which is so typical. He was European and he had a lot of family that was killed, my mother too, in the Holocaust. So he just felt if there's a God, there can't possibly be a God, or he wouldn't have allowed this to happen. But when I was a little girl, probably 4 or 5, my father did not want to join the synagogue. My mother grew up Orthodox, so she did. And our family doctor, and they made house calls in those days, so he would come with his bag and talk to my mom. He was the president of the synagogue. And he asked my mother, why won't Louis join
Louis,
synagogue?
what a great name.
That's good.
Louis.
And my mother said he won't, and my mother told me the story, not my dad. And apparently the doctor said to my father, look, if you want your children to grow up as Jews and to know that they're Jews, you have to give them a Jewish education. Otherwise, they're going to be like the Goyim. They're not going to know the difference. And that was it. He wanted us to be, we were Jews, and he wanted us to know that and to grow up that. And honestly, I don't know how he did it, because my brother and I never had Hebrew school the same day, and it was always at night after regular school. So you either went from 4 to 6 or you went from 6 to 8. So my poor father spent like his entire life chauffeuring us back and forth to the synagogue, because I would have it Monday and Wednesday, and my brother would have it Tuesday and Thursday. And then on Sunday, we had Hebrew school, but we had either 9 to 11, or I think it was 9 to 11 or 11 to 1. Well, we were never there the same time. So he'd be bringing us back and forth and back and forth. He never, ever, ever complained. I never heard him complain.
Oh, wow.
And you also have a Canadian connection, because you weren't far from Montreal. A number of Jewish people live in Montreal, and you used to go there regularly.
My family actually is from Montreal. So when she came over from Ukraine, she was only 15 years old. She came over all by herself, and she went to her uncle's house, and that's really where she was raised.
So you have a Ukrainian connection, which means what's happening now is especially something that you think about.
I probably have family over there, but I don't know, because my mother had 2 brothers. One of them, I'm pretty sure, was probably killed at the Baba Yar massacre in Ukraine. And the other one survived the war, but my mother didn't find out until 1957. That's a whole other story. And then he remarried because his wife and children were killed. And she was never, because of communism, she was never allowed to get in touch with him. So he remarried and had another family. So I probably had first cousins and whatever, but I've never met them, never knew them. So that's not unusual for Jewish people who survived World War II.
Notice, Chris, she said as she was talking, that's another story.
Yeah, that's another story.
We Jews always say, that's
another
you should only know.
Yeah.
But it's better off you don't know.
Well, it's just long.
Yeah. Yeah, we only have another 30 minutes or
I don't have
so.
enough time for all of my stories.
No, but I do want to go to you became a believer because of the testimony of your mother-in-law.
Yes.
From your late husband.
Yes.
And
my best friend, who was Jewish, who I grew up with.
How did Steve has a story of how his family responded to him becoming a believer in Jesus. How was your family? What was your family's response like when you came to know the Lord?
The Lord knew that my father would not take it well. He once told me that if I married anyone who wasn't Jewish, that was it. He wasn't going to speak to me again. And that wasn't my dad. My dad was a very loving, affectionate guy, but that's how he felt. And I never was allowed to date anyone who wasn't Jewish. But my mom died when I was in high school. My father died when I was in college. So that was the end of that. So when I only have one brother, and he's younger than I am. So when I got saved, I was terrified to tell my brother. I thought, oh, gee, what am I gonna do? So I waited a couple years and never said anything. And he was already married. And then finally, when I got together with my brother and my sister-in-law, and I told them, they started laughing. And I said, what is it? And Ira had gotten saved 3 years earlier, but was afraid to say anything to me.
What do you think?
So
Ira's a Gentile?
Yeah, exactly.
Ira. And he's a great guy.
Oh, you know him?
Oh, yeah. We went to Israel together.
Oh, that's right. I remember. Was he in Texas?
Yes, he still is in Texas.
Okay, yeah. I remember. I've never met him, but I remember hearing good stories
Well,
about
just
him.
hear Ira, and whoever it is, they're not Gentiles.
Yeah.
And my sister-in-law she just loves the Jewish people. She grew up also in Vermont, and she said she grew up in a little dinky little town in Vermont where they had 2 Presbyterian churches. one Republican, one Democrat.
Oh, you're kidding.
That's always the story she tells.
Lorna, we're going to, in a moment, get to a fun thing that we're going to do for this anniversary podcast, which is our top 10 Yiddish words of the year. And so we want you to participate in that.
Okay.
But really quick, Steve, let's do a quick recap of the last year and the things that we taught about during our Bible time that we were teaching from the Bible or themes we were pulling from the Bible. Because the first one that stood out to me, which I'm actually very proud that we started with this, it was Leviticus.
Leviticus, the book where your pages are still stuck together.
Right. Even after you went through them with us.
Especially after going over with us.
That's exactly right. It was, it's always enlightening to go through Leviticus because, like you said, it's not something that we often do. But when you're able to go through Leviticus and really see how it sets the pace for how God wanted to have a relationship with his people, and then ultimately how that gets worked out in the New Testament, that God still provides a way. Leviticus was about making a way to have a relationship with him, and it was through faith, and it was through the sacrificial system. But then again, you moved into the New Testament, and you see you can't fully understand Jesus' sacrifice. You can't fully understand what the cross means. You can't understand what it means that he's the high priest. All of these things, unless you ground yourself in Leviticus first.
Chris, Leviticus teaches us that God cares about everything.
Yeah.
The little details that he leaves. He's exact. And I know from me attempting to follow the law, not even reading Leviticus, just following the rabbinic laws. Lorna, you could relate. You go to Hebrew school. They teach you the holidays. They teach you the prayers. You're supposed to go over them. And I'm telling you, it doesn't take a person long if they pay attention. There's no way we can do all this. There's just no way we can do it all.
Mm-hmm. And so we did the Leviticus.
How many times did we meet? Was that like 25?
You know,
of it? Probably about half of the year was spent in Leviticus.
I'm
right?
just looking at our list here, and we ended in it looks like 18 weeks we dedicated to Leviticus.
So we speeded it up a little
we
bit.
did couple some of the chapters together. Yeah.
We knew people were falling asleep.
Well, you and I disagreed because remember I said, "Oh, I think we're moving at a good pace." And what was your line? You said, "We're just slowly moving." You thought we were going slow. I thought we were going fast.
It's killing me.
Yeah, it was. You're like, we got to move on. We got to get to something else. And which we did. We started the next one where we talked about the covenants.
It was great. We go back to Dallas when you were living in Dallas and set up a conference, which was remarkable because Ryrie was there. And the theme of that, I still remember it well, Chris. In fact, you still have a video of a person in the audience that you took and asked them if they liked the conference, but it was on the covenants. Do you remember back then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we had a great time, and I think the covenants are foundational. The covenant theology has stolen our terminology and replaced it with what they call a covenant, and not one of their three covenants is a biblical covenant.
That's right. The covenants that we're looking at are biblical covenants. The covenant made to Abraham, the covenant made to David, the covenant made the new covenant, the Mosaic covenant, and how they play out in the themes of redemption from beginning to end. And so that's always been very encouraging to go through. You know what? We actually broke news, Steve. Did you know this? I don't think our podcast listeners know that you and I broke news.
I don't even know that we broke news.
What
did we do?
Okay, so on episode 23, someone can go back and listen to this. We had Tetiana from Ukraine on.
I do remember.
Do you remember? And
live from Ukraine.
The night that Russia attacked, we had her on in the morning, and by the night, I think the first groups of people were moving in from Russia. The army was moving in. So we had her. There was some anticipation that things might happen, and then I just remember thinking at night I had received word that all of a sudden they attacked, and I thought, man, we had Tetiana from Ukraine, one of our workers from Friends of Israel in Ukraine. She lives in Kyiv, there talking about what was going on. So I like to say we broke some news. We just didn't make a big deal about it. That's
I got to tell you, Tetiana, we all of us admire her. While people were fleeing, and I would have been one of them, she made sure she stayed and then would go back and forth with our workers who are in Poland and bring people who needed to get out. She helped Jewish people make Aliyah. They brought in food. And yes, I do remember she was on our podcast as it was beginning. An amazing thing.
Amazing. And so we had Tatiana on, and I'll go with one more, Steve. You ready to jog your memory? We did a study on Ruth.
I do remember Ruth. And what a great study. We love Ruti.
Yes.
That's the way they say it in Israel. And in fact, Zvi's daughter is named Ruti. And I remember hearing Zvi in my mind talking about his daughter Ruti. And I just love that.
It's a great story and from the scriptures, an account that talks about the fact that, a lot like Steve, the Jew and Gentile podcast. The reason we are doing the Jew and Gentile podcast is to show that we're one in Christ. That even though God called the Jewish people and gave them a promise that in Christ, Gentiles and Jews have become one in Christ, and we can have fellowship with one another in the Messiah. And so, really, Ruth is a story that's leading up to that. That here is a Moabite woman that abandoned her pagan ways and followed her mother-in-law Naomi and said, your people will be my people, and the most important thing, your God will be my God. And you know what? If you think about yourself as a Gentile, that's ultimately what you're saying. You're abandoning the ways of the past, and you're saying, Lord, these are my family now. The church is my family, and you are my God, and I'm following you. So just some great parallels there as well.
Boaz was a Goel. Remember we talked about that?
Yep.
How Christ is our Goel. He was willing. Boaz was willing. He had the geech.
He had the money.
He had the money. He paid the price, and he was a kinsman.
That's right.
A kinsman. And what a great lesson. That was a great study.
So those were some of the things that we did. You can actually go back and listen to them if you'd like to. And I think we did I think we had I don't want to say we did a good job. I'm saying I think we had a fun time.
I think we did a great job.
I'm not trying to be boastful here. I'm saying we had a good time doing it.
Humility is not one of your attributes.
Yeah, I know. Golly, I have to work on that one. But no, it was a good time.
It was fun.
It was fun to go through the scriptures that way.
And we actually got feedback from a few people who really liked it.
Yep. From our 3 listeners.
Our 6 listeners, 3 of them who contacted us.
And the other 3 complained. So anyway, that's kind of what we went through during the year. Hey, but Steve, we also, I think one of the most popular segments of our podcast has become the Yiddish word of the day.
Play the music.
Oh, here we go. Playing the music. Yiddish word of the day. We're going to actually do Yiddish words as a recap of the top 10 words of the year for Yiddish words. And we actually called on our biggest fan.
Our biggest fan. She was the only one that responded. We asked, write in and tell us, give us your top 10, and we had 1.
We had 1 person who wrote
we're using all of her.
That's right. And you know what? That's why we're excited to have Lorna with us, because she's going to bring all of her Jewish background. We've got Steve with all of his Jewish background, and I'm just the Gentile along for the ride here as we look at our top 10 Yiddish words of the day. And hey, listen, if you're thinking, I wish I could have written in, great. Well, then go to foiequip.org, and you'll see a section on our webpage that says, say shalom, say hi to us. And you can write in your top 10 favorite Yiddish words if you remember them, or maybe you have one and you want to get it into us. But Steve, let's go through our top 10 Yiddish words here. Let's start with the first one. I like this one because I hear it all the time.
That's because I go into your office from my office, whether it's winter or summer, and it's like a schwitzing there.
It's schwitzing.
What is it by you where you're... It's as hot. It's unbelievably hot.
I get cold. I'm cold all that. I don't know what it is with that office. It always is the total extreme. I'm freezing or I'm burning up, and so I always
take one step in, and my shirt's wet. My pants are wet. My face's beads are coming down. What is going on here, Schvitzing?
I remember when we would do the podcast in my office, there were times you would leave sweating, and you didn't even do anything but talk. I mean, you were an animated man, but I mean, you would be
hot box.
You're like, there. It's a schwitz in here.
Lorna, you know Schvitzing, don't you?
I do, but I'm always cold.
See?
I would love his office.
I would love his office. Yeah.
My wife always makes fun of me because when we go to the gym, I would work out for 15 minutes in and then go sit in the sauna for like 30. And she's like, well, you're not really working out. You're here for the sauna. I'm like, yeah, like the schwitz. That's what a sauna is. It's a schwitz. So
Schvitzing is a great word.
that's right. So you could use that word actually as a noun, like a sauna is a schwitz, but you can also be schwitzing. You can be hot and sweating. And
You can if you go in Chris's office, you will schwitz.
come to my office and see for yourself. It may see for Lorna, it might not be a schwitz. It might be a perfect temperature.
She'll be comfortable. She'll be comfortable.
That's right. Okay. So we don't have that Yiddish word. Is there a Yiddish word for comfortable?
I don't think about
I'm just trying to think if in the entire Yiddish vocabulary, the word comfortable doesn't seem
more
like.
words for complaining.
That's what I was.
Well, the closest word off the top of my head is kvel. When you're joyous with somebody, you're just feeling so good. Your kid did something really good, or you had you just kvel. You're so, but that doesn't mean comfort. But you are feeling comfortable when you're feeling pretty good.
That's right. Okay. So, but our word is schwitzing. The next one. All right, Lorna, I'm going to lead with you on this one, and I know that you don't know them, but you'll know this one. L'chaim.
Oh, that's Hebrew.
Yeah.
For life. Yeah.
That's Hebrew. It's used in Yiddish culture,
It
though,
is.
right?
When you, well, I don't know, when you toast someone, you.
Oh,
always
of
sing
course.
Mm.
Just think of Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah.
Tonight, l'chaim. Boom, boom, boom. Right?
Yeah, l'chaim.
L'chaim.
It's
To
Yiddish.
life.
It's
to life.
It's Yiddish kite too.
It
So
is
it's
Yiddish kite.
It's in the culture.
Actually, now that I think about it, you know how a lot of people will wear a chai, you know, I have
100%.
one. I don't wear it all the time, but it's a hay and a yud
Yep.
on a gold chain.
Mhm.
A lot of men will wear them, and life is very important to the Jewish people because everyone's trying to kill us all the time. So life is important.
Life is very important. You know, we were in Israel. Alice would tell this story. And this woman came up to Alice and said, you know, I know this is supposed to be something, but it looks like it's a camel, right? Isn't this a camel? And Alice said, no, that's not a camel. It's chai.
But I can see that.
It
Yeah.
looked like a camel.
Yeah, I can see that in the Hebrew.
No, chai, life. I thought I liked it because it was a camel.
You know, I actually learned from all the times I've been to Israel is that chai is the number 18.
Yes.
Yep.
And so it means life in Hebrew, but it also means the number 18. And so people would get $18 sometimes for their birthday, like to represent life.
100%. When I get calls frequently of people who have friends who are Jewish and their child is being bar or bat mitzvahed. And so I tell them, I said, do multiples of 18. Don't give $18 in cash. That's cheap. Do multiples of 18, double l'chaim, triple l'chaim, or quadruple l'chaim, and get a Bible. And write, so you give them cash. The child will be happy with the cash. But then you write a personal note to that child and say, this is your book. It's important to me. You've been a blessing. Your people have been a blessing. Use your own words. So you give the child the money, and the parents will kvel because somebody who's a Gentile gave a Jewish scripture to their family.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I never thought about that. So you can
Do it
double,
all.
triple,
You could
quadruple.
Oh, yeah, multiples of 18.
You're not just giving them $18.
Back when I was a kid, 18 was what you got. But that was back in dinosaur age. So now it's multiples.
Yeah, that was like $1 million back then, right?
Hey, I was happy for anything I could get, you know?
All right, so that's l'chaim. All right, here's another good one. All right, this is one for a Yiddish word that's for really anybody who does something good or somebody who's got a good...
Lorna's father was a Mensch.
Yeah, a
wasn't
Mensch.
He was a Mensch.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, what's a Mensch? I'm calling your father a
Mensch
name?
is an upstanding human being with integrity.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know, it's funny because mensch almost sounds like a bad word. You know, what a mensch. You know, you could almost go either, but it doesn't. It actually, I think we talked
Nobody
about...
says it that way, Chris. It's, that guy's a Mensch.
I know, but if you don't know the word, it almost sounds derogatory. It's a mensch. Like, you know, if I'd be like, what does that mean?
You know what it means in German?
Man.
Yeah. Human. You're human.
You're human. You're a good human.
But in Yiddish, oh, he's such a Mensch. You see, you got to hear it as well as say it.
I know. What the other day we did one on forgiveness. and I can't remember the phrase.
I can't remember either.
Yeah, because it was an unusual one, but the way I was saying it, you're like, you don't want to say it like that. You want to say like, forgive me, please. And I was like, forgive me. I guess that's the way I always think when it comes to Yiddish, is it's got to have some panache behind it, you know?
Yep.
All right, so the Mensch is a good one. And maybe you do with your kids, the elf on the shelf during Christmas. We do that, but they also have a Mensch on a bench for the Jewish
Mensch
people.
on the bench.
That's right. Okay, here's another one. Steve, we use this one a lot. Bupkis.
Bupkis. It's a great word. How do you say it, Lorna?
Bupkis.
That's it.
Just Bupkis.
I can't tell you how many times Steve and I are in the office and we just go, well, we got Bupkis on that one.
Well, you see, when Tom Simcox, Lorna's husband, comes home and says, Lorna, I'm ready for supper. What do we have? And she says, Bupkis, you're taking me out.
Exactly.
You've done it. I know you've done it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Bupkis. I love that one. I use that one on my kids a lot. You guys give me Bupkis here. Nothing. I'm working with nothing. All right. Here's another one. To schmooze. Not to
that's
snooze.
what we're doing right now.
Yeah, we're schmoozing.
We're schmoozing.
That's a good one for a top 10, to schmooze, to talk
We
to
were
one
just
another.
at a Friends of Israel conference. I was the MC. In between meetings, there are, bathroom calls, and they call to fellowship. And then it's time to meet. And what are they doing? They're schmoozing.
Everyone's
They're
schmoozing.
kibitzing and schmoozing. They're talking and they're schmoozing. So
That's
you
right.
got to call them back.
And that's right. And that's after they schluffied for a little bit.
That's right. Schluffy, go to sleep.
I don't know if we've ever done schluffy.
I don't know if we have done schluffy, but I'll tell you how many people have fallen asleep when I speak. They go schluffy
That's
when I
right.
start speaking.
Oh, they're schluffying right now as we talk.
I'm sure they're schluffing
That's
right now.
But we're talking about schmooze.
Right.
Schmooze is what we're doing, and maybe you've schmoozed a lot in your life. I'm a schmoozer. Yeah, Lorna, you're a schmoozer. You schmooze.
My husband's the schmoozer.
Oh, he's the
He's
schmoozer.
the big time schmoozer.
That's right. He's the Macher of schmoozers.
Don't get ahead of ourselves here.
Oh, is that? Oh, that. Oh, that's. All right, that's good. No, but Tom's
He likes to
reputation
schmooze.
precedes himself. I mean, he is a schmoozer.
He's very friendly. He likes to talk to people.
Yep.
He's a schmoozer.
He's a schmoozer.
He is a schmoozer.
Steve's a schmoozer. I like the schmooze. We should just call this the schmoozing podcast.
I
But
like Jew and Gentile.
Jew and Gentile's better. Okay. Here's another one, especially because in a little bit we're going to be getting ready to go to lunch with Lorna, which we're very excited about. But we're going to be noshing while we're there.
We are going to be noshing. Noshing is really the equivalent of appetizers. A little nosh. Take a little. My mother used to say, "Take a little nosh." Go when you go. Take a little nosh. Put it in the car. You never know, right, Lorna?
Right. A good word to go with nosh, though. Chazarai.
Yeah, chazarai or
Most
chazer.
people nosh on chazarai.
What's
Junk
chazarai?
food.
Chazarai is junk.
Oh,
Food.
did they just say chazarai? That means,
Chazarai is
Chazarai.
junk, and a chazer is a pig.
Yeah.
oh, you're
Like
kidding.
my mother never wanted us eating chazarai.
Yep.
That was bad for you.
Really?
Unhealthy.
Yeah, chazarai is McDonald's is chazarai.
Oh.
Chazarai. Well, we better not name any.
Oh.
That's right. I go to McDonald's
Well,
all
it's
the
junk
time.
food.
It
It's
is.
junk
A
food.
lot of people like McDonald's.
I like it too, but it's chazarai.
It is chazarai. It's not the
Potato
greatest for you.
chips.
It's not
Chazarai.
nutritionally beneficial
Right.
for us.
That's right.
But it tastes great.
That's right. I mean, we do know that 6 billion cheeseburgers have been sold by them, so people must like that chazarai.
Love it.
That's
Love
right.
It's good. It's just chazarai.
It's chazarai. All right, here we go. So we noshed. We did chazarai. We did a little nosh. We'll probably nosh. We'll do more than nosh at the diner when we go eat in a little bit. But here's another good one, because I think we all have this in this room too. We all have a little bit of chutzpah.
A lot of chutzpah. There's a lot of it going around.
That is such a deep word. Like it's simple, but there's a lot of chutzpah to chutzpah. There's a lot of depth to that. Lorna, why don't you take the lead on chutzpah?
Chutzpah. I'm trying to remember this Hebrew school story I learned, which was funny, on how you define chutzpah. It's somebody injures someone else. No, a guy kills both his parents, and then he asks for mercy because he's an orphan. That's the story.
That's chutzpah.
That's
it.
chutzpah.
That's it.
That's a good one.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
Yeah. Oh, chutzpah. How about you, Steve?
Oh, no, she stole mine. That's
oh, that was it?
Yeah, that's
I guess that's the universal Hebrew school story
a great
about the definition.
I'll give you one. I was the MC, and it drives Alice crazy. So in talking, I talk spontaneously what comes to my head.
That's why she always sits in the back, too.
She sits in the back. She goes like this, please. Anyway, so I'll say, hey, folks, I know you. A good night for me is one time to the bathroom. That's a good night for me. And Alice just says, too much information. Yeah. That's chutzpah. How could you stand in front of 300 people and tell them when you go to the bathroom? That's chutzpah.
It's chutzpah, especially at a Friends of Israel conference. That's good.
Right.
All right. Well, here's another one for you two, and we've used this one a lot, Steve, throughout the year. But Macher. The big Macher.
That's right. Well, Lorna is the big Macher for the magazine.
That's right. She is the big Macher.
She's the decision maker. People fall in place like us. Mm-hmm. What are we supposed to do? When is it due? Even though we're late all the time, we come to her and ask for mercy.
That's right.
Because she's the Macher.
We have the chutzpah to ask for mercy to the big Macher.
That's right. That's right.
So, all right. Big Macher, how do you feel about that, of the magazine?
I love the magazine.
Oh,
What do you mean?
I'm just calling you the big Macher. That's all.
The magazine. That's how I feel.
That's good. Well, here's a little plug then. You can go to israelmyglory.org/subscribe. If you do not get the magazine that Larna is the big Macher for, Israel My Glory, then you need to go to israelmyglory.org/subscribe. And if you've never subscribed before, you get a 1-year free subscription.
That's right.
And you can do that either digitally, which we always recommend.
That's
Steve.
the one to do.
That's right. The digital one is
because you get magazines all the way to 1980.
Yeah, and I think even before that too, a little bit. And we're planning on going all the way back to some of the original ones. If back to 1942. Somebody actually asked me not too long ago, "Can I get the original copy of Israel My Glory? How do I do that?"
Not yet, but they will.
It's coming, and so we continue to add. And so you can get the digital version, 1-year free subscription. And Steve, I always like what you say. You want to ask a question about the millennium? You type it in, boom, there it is.
There it is. And we were talking about Macher. We had Jim Showers, who is the Macher for Friends of Israel, and he was just on Equip, which is our sponsor.
That's true.
And he was just on, and I think there's been like 500 people that have accessed that course in Equip. Is that true?
Yes, it's true. Yep. We've had over 500 people who have logged on YouTube to watch it, and we had about 80 people who were on live that night who were watching Jim share about the history of the Friends of Israel. So it was fantastic.
Hey, when you're the big Macher, people come.
People come, and they want to listen. So that's Macher, everybody. Here's an easy one for everyone. Here we go. Oy vey.
Oy.
Let's see if I remember where it is.
Oy.
There it is. I think I have another one too.
Oy vey's mir.
There, that's the other one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, oy vey's mir is
right.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
And oy gewalt.
Oy gewalt.
Yeah, we've not done oy gewalt.
We haven't done, because I don't use. Do you use oy gewalt a lot? I don't use oy gewalt. I just use oy.
What does oy gewalt mean?
I'm not even sure what gewalt means.
My dad used to say.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just I'm sure it has a literal translation, but it's oy gewalt. Oy.
I love that.
There's degrees of oy.
Yeah, I guess right. That's a good way of saying it.
If you go to the Philadelphia the Jewish Museum there, they actually have this big giant. I think it's supposed to say yo. Y-O, but I think when you're standing in the other direction, it says oi, and it's huge. And so they have one in Brooklyn too. And so I don't know what they're doing with the cities and doing this, yo promotional thing. But if you stand on the other side of it, it doesn't say yo, it says oi. And I got a kick out of that. So oi is a good one. Here's another fun one for our last one. And then we have a bonus word, but Meshuggeneh.
Meshuggeneh. Help us out, Lorna.
Oh, that's a great word.
Yep, Meshuggeneh.
Crazy.
What a
crazy.
Don't be Meshuggeneh.
I'll tell you how Alice and I use that word. When we first met, and I was trying to introduce her to my family, and I had to prepare her and said, "Look, we're crazy. We're Meshuggeneh." And she agreed. And for years, my family was the Meshuggeneh family, and her family, everything was great. Well, as time goes on and things change, if you asked her today, Who's the Meshuggeneh family? Her family's more Meshuggeneh than mine.
Oh, she's changed her opinions on the Meshuggeneh.
The jury's still out, but she's moving.
Oh,
She's moving.
Okay, I like it. I like it.
Mishuggeneh.
Mishuggeneh is craziness.
Yeah. Well, didn't you couple the words together when we did it? The Mishuggeneh is doing Mishuggeneh.
The Meshuggeneh is doing Mishuggeneh. Yeah.
Oh, I can't stop laughing. All right, here we go. This is our bonus word, everybody. Mishpucha.
Mishpucha. Lorna, you want to help us?
Lorna, you're a part of the Mishpucha right now.
Big I pronounce it Mishpucha, so I don't.
Maybe,
know.
yeah. I'm the one leading the two Jewish
I've
people
always
here.
said Mishpucha. Big. At Thanksgiving, you want the whole Mishpucha together.
Okay,
The whole family.
The whole family. Okay,
That's right. We're so glad we're part of the Mishpucha of God.
That's right. Well, that's what I wanted to do really quick. I want to go through each word and just for a second, and I want to tie it to scripture now. Okay, so Schvitzing. Go ahead, Steve.
Oy, Schvitzing. You caught me off guard here. Schvitzing. If you don't go through Jesus, you'll be schwitzing.
You'll be schwitzing if you don't know the Lord Jesus. All right, here, this one's for you, Lorna. L'chaim.
If you know Jesus, you'll have l'chaim forever.
I like
love
it.
I
like it.
Love it.
All right, Steve, here we go. Mensch.
Mensch. Jesus Christ is the top-notch mensch.
All right, and he makes us mensches through his righteousness.
When we're in Christ, we are mensching.
That's right. All right, Lorna, this will be fun to get from you. Bupkis.
Bupkis. Oh boy. Let's see. I might need a little.
All right, I got one here. Without the Lord, you got Bupkis.
Without the Lord, you are Bupkis.
You are Bupkis. That's right. Exactly. All right, here we go. Steve, Schmooze.
Schmooze. The middle wall, when Paul wrote about the middle wall of partition being broken, we Jews and Gentiles can schmooze forevermore.
We're schmoozing. That's right. I like it. I like it. All right, Larna, Nosh.
We need to nosh on the bread of life.
Oh,
Okay.
that's the best one. That is, oh, baby.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right, here we go. Steve, Chutzpah.
Chutzpah. Satan thinking that he's the 5 I wills from Isaiah, where he said, I will be like the Most High
That's a
God.
great
That
example.
is chutzpah.
That is some serious chutzpah. All right, man, that might actually take over the guy who, what is it, killed his parents, and then that might be better.
for mercy.
That's right. Satan's got some serious chutzpah. All right, Lorna, Macher.
Jesus is the big Macher.
He is the big Macher. I love that. Steve, oy vey.
Oy vey. What Adam said after Eve gave him the apple. Or not apple, fruit.
The fruit, yeah. Oh, that's good.
Oy vey, what have I done? There was Adam.
There was Adam. I like it. All right. Last one, Lorna, to you, Meshuggeneh.
You got to be crazy if you don't receive Christ
There
as
you-
your
There
Savior.
you go.
I like
You
it.
have to be Meshuggeneh.
And I'll end with this one, Mishpucha. Is that how am I saying that right?
Mishpucha.
Mishpucha.
Okay, good. All right. So we're all one big Mishpucha in Christ
Amen.
together.
Amen and amen.
All right, those are our.
that was great.
Wasn't that fun? All right, let's end it with this. Our Yiddish words. Those were the top 10 Yiddish words of the year.
And thank you, Patty.
And thank you, Patty, for picking them out. Our one of our biggest fans. Again, if you love the top 10 Yiddish words, go to foiequip.org right now and go to the Say Shalom section and write in what your top 10 favorite Yiddish words are. Hey, maybe even you have a Yiddish word we haven't done yet. Let us know. We'd love to be able to do it and incorporate it into the podcast. So those are the top 10 Yiddish words of the year. Hey, Steve, really quick, just a fresh reminder. Tonight, September 20th, we have our Bridges Internship Interest meeting, which you're going to be leading tonight.
I am.
I just want to remind you that you're leading.
No, I knew. It's good you're reminding me, but I'm all ready. I got my little outline that I'm supposed to do. But Chris, what a great thing with the programs that we have, Encounter and Bridges and Origins, and we got all different kind of programs. And this is just, if you're interested in any of the programs we have, particularly Bridges, or any of the programs we have, you come on and you just ask about it. We talk about what we have. Bruce Scott, who directs our programs. And it's an opportunity. No, there's no obligation, no money down, no months to pay, nothing. It's just you come, you listen. Oh, that sounds interesting. He'll tell you when you can access, including Equip, by the way, future courses, any of that. It's just a wonderful time to schmooze and find out, hey, what's available? What can I do? And you find out.
Okay, so tonight is just like test driving a car. You don't have to buy the car, but if you're interested in learning more on how you can get engaged in Jewish ministry, you can get trained. It's a 9-week training course. It's free. And so maybe you're just thinking, well, I'd like to learn more about that. Well, tonight's interest meeting is where you want to be.
And Chris, how many people have gone through Bridges so far?
Well, if we count, by the end of the year, if we count, I believe, our United Kingdom version of Bridges, we'll have 110 alumni within a year and a half.
What do you mean United? It's in Great Britain now?
Yeah, it's in Great Britain. We have our workers, Trevor and Maggie Stewart-Sweet, who have a group of people who are going through our Bridges program.
So we went over the pond.
We're international now.
We are that sounds pretty sophisticated.
Yeah, we are very international. In fact, the podcast is listened in Canada. It's listened in Singapore to all of our Singapore friends who are listening. That's right. We're all over the place, Steve. And so, anyway, we can have up to 110 alumni of Bridges. If you'd like to see what Bridges is all about, a way that you can learn about Jewish ministry, what's going on in Israel, and how you can get involved as a believer, I encourage you to go to gofoi.org/Bridges22, and there you can register for the Zoom meeting. It's free. It's at 8:30 this evening. And then finally, I have an Intertestamental History class. That's between the Testaments, between Malachi and Matthew.
Chris, that's really important. Don't go fast. You're going in your radio voice.
I know. I'm sorry.
The intertestamental course is so important because we're left off in the Older Testament text. It seems God is silent. My opinion, I don't think God was silent, still interacting. I think there's nothing, we don't know. But all of a sudden you read from Matthew, the genealogy, it's the announcement of what Jewish people were waiting for, the Messiah of Israel. I think what you're going to talk about is really important, probably the most important. We're not real far from Hanukkah.
That's right.
And that's an intertestamental holiday that Jewish people celebrate.
There's 2 tracks we're going to run on with this class. The first is how God was preparing, the world for the coming of the Messiah, because it really became a global issue leading up to Jesus's arrival. Rome was present in Israel, and so how did Rome get there? They were the biggest empire in the world. So that we're going to talk about all the steps that were leading up to Jesus's coming, which Paul says happened in the fullness of time. And so then also we're going to look at the amazing component of the fact that the Jewish people were able to maintain their unique identity as the world was trying to influence them and draw them away and even almost forcibly prevent them from being Jewish. And so we're going to kind of run along 2 tracks there, and I think they actually will merge with one another as we continue that study. So that's Between the Testaments, that's Intertestamental History, and you can register for that class by going to foiequip.org. Again, that's free, and we have other classes on there that you can register for as well. Steve, we got our last section here. Since we did the Yiddish word earlier, we've only got news left to do, but why don't you go ahead and take the lead on that?
Okay. This comes actually from NPR. The headline is Yeshiva University cancels all clubs after it was ordered to allow an LGBTQ group not on campus, but meet as a club. And Yeshiva University, Lorna, you know what a yeshiva is. Tell us.
Yeah. Well, it's a, excuse me, it's a religious school.
A Jewish religious school. That's right.
I heard that went to court.
It actually, this actually went to court. The state of New York judge ruled that they must do it. It was stayed by Sotomayor because I never knew this before, but Chris, each of the 9 justices in the Supreme Court are over a region of the country. And when this case came and the state court ruled, federal court ruled that they had to have clubs, the response on the part of the yeshiva was that we're canceling all clubs. We're going to cancel so nobody will have them. And the Supreme Court Justice, I forgot her, Sotomayor, what's her first?
Sonia.
Sonia. Anyway, she ruled that they didn't have to do that, but that it's because they have to hear the challenge on the part of the school, part of the yeshiva. But what's interesting is how this affects other groups, including Christians and evangelicals. I think ultimately it's going to get to the Supreme Court, and they're going to rule on it.
This will be a Supreme Court issue. And we have a Supreme Court that right now that it'll be interesting to see how they move. But it's definitely more pro freedom of your religion and assembly to have the right to make those choices. I think that we have a lot of originalists in the Supreme Court now, which will definitely, I think, lean toward the favor of schools like yeshivas or even Christian colleges saying, you know what, I don't know if this really fits our mission and our model. Well,
especially, Chris, because the court in New York ruled that they weren't the yeshiva. Think about, you talk about Meshuggeneh, the school yeshiva was not religious enough.
Yeah.
What does it mean not to be religious enough? We're a yeshiva.
Yeah, that's about as religious as you can get.
We started because we're Orthodox Jewish people. And so to say you're not religious enough is the government actually saying what they think religious enough is. That's crazy.
And the big question will be state funding. I mean, if you take state funding as a school, you know, that's you're going to be beholden to the
100%.
Now, I don't know if the yeshiva did that or not, but
I think they do.
Do they?
I think that could complicate things. I think you're right, but it's interesting that you have a religious school who's adhering to the Bible and can be forced, possibly be forced to do something that inherently violates the establishment of the group in the first place.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny too, because a lot of times I see this all the time on social media where people are bad-mouthing evangelicals for their take on these things. And you know, what they forget is it's just not, you know, conservative evangelicals that, you know, believe in the Bible. It's also religious Jewish people. And I'll even say Muslims as well. These kind of, you know, when you move these kind of, you demand that these kind of groups meet at a Muslim school or an Orthodox Jewish school, a yeshiva or a Christian. Now it's not just the Christians. I think everybody always just thinks, oh, it's those Christians. They're doing this. It's not. This is a serious issue with people who are of faith, and so I think it's only going to move its way up to the Supreme Court.
If the government can get involved with the degree of how religious you are, then eventually the government could tell you what religion to be.
Exactly, and they can water that down and tell you have to do this. This actually happened to a local college around here. They had a social work program. And the social work program,
it's a Christian college.
It was a Christian college, yep. And they didn't want to adopt, or the state was making them adopt to certain social work practices that included, you know, LGBTQ plus issues, and you know the school wasn't willing to go in that direction. And instead of fighting it, you know, personally, I think the school did exactly what the yeshiva did: shut it down.
They just shut it down,
shut the whole thing down. And so, you know, that's where we're moving to.
That's where we're
just shutting this stuff down. All right, Steve, we have another one too. Actually, an article written by a friend of all three of ours, Paula Jaffe. Go ahead and take it, Steve.
This is great. It's fighting Israel boycotts through American sports. I'm a sports fan, Chris, and this was particularly interesting to me because we had a gal who we won't mention her name because she doesn't want it out there, but she's a friend of ours. And Bruce Pearl, who is the coach of the Auburn University Tigers men's basketball team. So he's a Jewish guy, Lorna, you'll appreciate this, living down south. And in the article itself, he works with 95% African Americans playing basketball for the University of Auburn. And every 4 years, the NCAA allows the team to go to different countries. And guess where Bruce Pearl takes his players? To Israel.
Right to Israel.
Right to Israel. And it's
where basketball is huge, by the way.
Huge.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, this whole article is trying to fight BDS, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. And Bruce Pearl is at the cutting edge of doing it. And what I found out also Well, listen to what he says. He says the greatest way to understand Israel and the amazing place it has become and the pride the Israelis have in the land and in the people and culture is to see it yourself.
That's what we say.
And Chris, and Lorna, you know this. We've been doing this since 1977.
Yep.
I actually came to Friends of Israel as a volunteer before we went to Israel.
Oh,
Think
really?
about that. I've been here longer than they've been going to Israel.
I didn't think about that. That's funny.
Crazy.
Yeah, we really do believe, especially with our young adult program, Origins, we really believe that when a Christian steps foot in the Holy Land, when they
Changes
step foot in
everything.
Israel, it's going to give them a better appreciation for the promises that God made to Israel and the Jewish people, and it's also going to give them a better information on how to stand up against anti-Israel sentiments on college campuses and even anti-Semitism, the hatred of the Jewish people. And so, anybody I've ever taken to Israel comes back and says, "How can I get back there again?" That was amazing.
You know, Chris, it's been said. It's not unique to me. When we take people to Israel on their way over, they're reading the Bible on their way over. They're reading it in black and white. When they read their Bible back after Israel, they're reading it in color.
Yeah, that's true. And a lot of the people who are on this basketball team, Auburn is in Alabama. And so I'm sure a lot of them are Christians. And he even said that when they're there, they visit some of the Christian holy sites and Jewish sites as well. They go to the Western Wall, which is in Jerusalem. They go to the Dead Sea. They go to Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Memorial, and they go to various other places. But they also they do basketball clinics with Jewish people, Muslims, Christians, and Druze, and it's hosted by a former Muslim NBA player. And so they have a lot of great things that are going on.
What a wonderful way to boom.
Yeah.
It's bada bing, bada boom.
That's bada bing, bada boom. And who else did something like this too? Who's the owner of the Patriots?
Kraft.
Kraft built a football stadium or like a football area in Jerusalem for American football, which is not that common in Israel at all. But I don't even think it's to
Our
scale.
people are smart, banging their heads together, running into each other. Come on, no.
But he's done the same thing. He's tried to promote Israel through
Yes,
sports
he
as
has.
well. And so anyway, all right, well, that's it, everybody. Hey, thank you so much for being with us, Lorna.
Lorna, thanks for coming.
It's fun. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we loved having you, Lorna. Come back again. Hey, listen, it's been 1 year, Steve. I've had a great year.
Don't get too excited.
And well, are we coming back for a year two? That's the question.
Hopefully.
All right. Well, everyone, just be looking out for year two. We've got, I think, a great time planned out, and some more Yiddish words we have to do, Steve. We can't leave our folks hanging with no Yiddish words.
We got to go to the joys of Yiddish.
That's right. We got to go to the joys of Yiddish. But until then, go schluffy, go relax, as Steve would say. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.